Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Yes, indeed. Our friends at Easton Roofing, proud to bring you Danny Clinkscale from dannyclinkscale.com for commercial and residential roofing. It is Easton Roofing. 4 straight years voted best of houses. Angie's List Super Service Award winner at Easton Roofing. There's no payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Credit cards and PayPal accepted. Call 913-257-5426. You can find them online at eastonroofing.com. Danny, sir, how are you?
I'm doing just fine, Soren. I'm feeling very courageous these days.
Why do you feel courageous? Are you?
I'm not feeling courageous. I'm just
because Curtis has said he's always felt you're just kind of a coward, really. To be honest with you,
there's some cowardice in me. There's no question about that.
That was a joke, and Curtis would never be the one to say it.
No,
that's
he probably
Jed.
wouldn't
But
say it.
but I digress. So what's your beef with courage?
Yesterday, a couple things happened in the world of sports that made me think of courage or lack thereof.
Are we talking lack of courage or?
Yeah, lack of courage. I would say that.
Is this a sports thing?
Oh, yeah, these are both sports things.
Okay.
So it's not really, like D-Day.
D-Day, which
that's real courage.
The anniversary was yesterday.
It was yesterday, so it did sort of ply into that. Well, the Royals game yesterday, they were trailing 4-2, and there was a fly ball to. I did a blog yesterday where I went through the game sort of pitch by pitch. I had fun doing that.
Well, that's painful.
It was just an ordinary game, but it was called 9 Innings with Me. So if anybody really wants to dive deep into yesterday's Red Sox-Royals game through the mind of Danny Clinkscale, that is up at dannyclinkscale.com. But anyway, so it's 4-2, and the bases are loaded, and Cheslor Cuthbert is at third. And Whit Merrifield lofts a fly ball to right field, which was pretty much medium deep to right.
Okay.
And Mookie Betts, who does have a fine throwing arm, was able to sort of fade over toward the foul line, but he was going to his left, and he was probably maybe able to move in about 8 feet from his regular position. So pretty, fairly deep. So you're thinking, okay, they're going to try to score him. Well, they didn't. And the throw was offline, so he would have been safe, but that's kind of beside the point. What it made me think about is that, and I learned this actually through playing hundreds of games of Stratomatic baseball, but in this situation, it's 4-2. Now, the caveat here is the bases are loaded, so you could have scored more than one run, all right? But a lot of times, what third base coaches are doing is really just covering their ass and not wanting to get embarrassed by not sending the runner because, okay, say you figured it was only a 50-50 chance. Say you only figured it was a 40-60 chance for him to score. There's 2 outs now if you don't send him, okay? The batter was Adalberto Mondesi. He ain't a 500 hitter the last I checked.
This is the same conversation we had about whether or not to send Alex Gordon in Game 7 of the World Series.
Right, and I don't know if I was maybe on board with that because I think that, Brandon Crawford has a fine throwing arm. The only caveat there is that he's making the biggest throw of his entire life, and he could have short-hopped it. But in all likelihood, Gordon would have been out by an embarrassingly large margin. Nobody would have ever thought, Sal Perez was sure to make an out, even though he was about sure to make an out off of Madison Bumgarner at that point. But the courage part here is just that the third base coaches and baseball people in general now are so analytically based that they have to realize that the mathematics for sending runners to the plate should match up with what chance they feel like the next hitter has to get a hit.
You're supposed to be standing in the outfield going, where am I going with the ball? If this happens, what am I going to do, right? I'm trying to impart that on my third grade daughter.
Right.
Right? That this is where are you going with the ball when she plays softball? Like, you'd be thinking where it is. And I'll even holler out to her, where are you going with the ball? And she'll point. She's thinking like that. Third base coach, you should be doing the same thing. Who am I running on? Okay, so you've got your scouting reports on all the arms.
Right.
You know what the talent on the arms is. You know who your runners are speed-wise. They take no context of what is coming up next, because when you ask them the questions, it is staggering to me. You call it courage. I'll just call it not finishing the job. Like it's like building a building and you're like, okay, we got to figure out what kind of steel integrity we need here, and we got to figure out, we got to make sure it's level and flat, and we got to do all that, and then not bothering with how much concrete you need. Whatever, we'll see. No, that's the fundamental part of what it is.
And the
you're
percentage,
doing.
and the percentage. This is baseball. It's hard to hit. Now, I said this is a little bit different because the bases were loaded. Okay, they did have a chance to score more than one run. So I'll listen to that part. That probably should increase the thought of not sending the runner, because a base hit is going to score 2 runs in all likelihood.
And who was up? I forgot.
It was Mondesi,
okay,
and he struck out. But that was beside the point. I mean, that's really beside the point. And the courage aspect of it is that if Mookie Betts makes a good throw, Cuthbert's out by 15 feet. And it looks stupid. It does look stupid. You look like an idiot. Well, so what? When Mondesi struck out, you don't look like an idiot, but Mondesi looks like an idiot because he just struck out. But say a guy's a 400 hitter with runners in scoring position. That's great. And surely he had a 40% chance of scoring, even in the Brandon Crawford example. He could have made a great throw to the plate that was a foot short and could have skipped in the dirt. In this case, Betts missed. He threw a dart home, but it was 5 feet up the line. I mean, Cuthbert would have scored. So, that to me is just, especially with the analytics in the game. Now, I know the Astros, obviously, they're my favorite team, so I follow them a little closer than some, although probably not as close as the Royals because it's part of my job. Definitely not as close as the Royals. But they're very aggressive on the bases. And I think part of that is the analytics of it, that, base hits are hard to come by. Clutch hits are hard to come by. Let's try to score from second here, because the next guy is probably going to make an out. Probably.
Well, then throw in that this is the team that wants to run and be aggressive and do all those things, and then listen, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, there is, and when you talk to the guys that handle the third base, there is no thought, well, I was probably a 50-50 play. That's it. It just ends there.
They say it's probably a 50-50 play as if that's bad.
Right.
When
right.
The next hitter it does not have a 50% chance of getting a hit.
Yeah, but they do not factor in the next play.
Right. Exactly.
And it's just
they do factor
failure.
And they do factor in the embarrassment factor.
But in their mind, simple majority wins.
That it's going to look silly if the play is executed well by the defense. You're going to be out by a mile. Okay.
Well, you're going to be out, and then you also don't know whether or not they would have gotten a hit. Right. This way we played out, and we got a definitive ending.
Right, we did.
There's a fear of the unknown. If I send him and he's out, we'll never know if he would have got a hit.
And
I don't know that I can live with not giving so-and-so a chance to get it done with the bat. Screw you.
And
you're in the get-it-right business.
And for all the fans who thought that they should have sent Alex Gordon, 98% of them, if he was thrown out by 30 feet, which he well could have been, would have been screaming.
Yes.
And also saying, well, Sal was up there. We
got
had
your
Sal,
postseason hero.
We got our postseason hero. It took the bat right out of his hand. Those words would have been spoken. But with the pure mathematics of it, just an example yesterday of just in general, third base coaches should just get a tough guy who's willing to take the bullets, who's willing to sit there and say, just say the percent, just say what I just said.
Well, they finally...
Mondesi's got about a 35% chance of getting a hit there. And, okay, we had a couple more runners on, so I'm going to ding that up to... We got about a 45% chance here, so I'm sending them.
The evolution has gotten us to the point where we're beyond Pedro in 2003, which got Grady Little fired.
Oh, yeah.
Leaving
03
Pedro
ALCS,
Martinez,
Right.
Who was on the beginning the downslope of his career and was a guy who was lights out still for 80-some-odd pitches. But leaving him out there, actually getting away with one extra inning. I don't even remember what game it was against the Yankees. But he leaves him out there, and he steals an inning where Pedro works through, needs 5 or 6 batters to get out of the inning, but still does, but is clearly not dominant, and then runs him back out there again. And says, he's my ace. Well, screw you.
Well,
he's not your ace at pitch 114.
Right, and Royals fans should
And we've gotten past that, haven't we?
Royals fans should embrace, no, we haven't, because Matt Harvey talked Terry Collins into staying in the ball game that the Royals would win in a key situation when they clearly should have brought the closer in. And Harvey goes to him and, I'm your guy. And he doesn't stand up to Harvey. Of course, Collins is 4'0" and Harvey's 6'5", and at that point probably 317 pounds. But
he wasn't 317.
But anyway,
he's the Dark Knight.
He's my guy.
He's the Dark Knight.
Yeah, he was the Dark Knight because it's the dark mornings when he was out and drinking till 4 a.m. But so the Royals in 2015 benefit from that type of thinking as well. And the other courageous thing, just before we get away from it, was the referee in the Stanley Cup Finals game last night, who, for whatever reason, decided to swallow the whistle with 7 minutes to go and not call a penalty. And unfortunately for him, he's probably like, I don't want to make a call here that can really decide the game. Let's let the guys play. Let's make them play. And so he does it, and unfortunately for the official, it immediately turns into a goal for the Blues, and he doesn't make the call, and it cost the Bruins. And I think part of it was that he was of that mindset.
Yeah,
I don't want to be the person who is deciding that. Well, it was a penalty, clear and simple. Make the call.
Yes, it was absolutely botched, and it would have been not to say that the Bruins would have definitely won. We'd have been 1-1,
right,
going into and they robbed me of overtime hockey, which I desperately want every game.
Right.
And so, yes, I'm with you. That was a terrible call. Terrible call. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. We'll talk about it on the other side. 6 weeks after, this is from the Kansas City Star, just coming out, 6 weeks after Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Tyreek Hill was suspended from the team amid an ongoing child abuse probe, prosecutors are no longer actively working the criminal case. Quote, it is not an active investigation, Johnson County District Attorney Steve Howe said in an email Friday morning. Quote, as in any case, if we receive additional evidence, we reevaluate. Maybe I'm getting the back pedals I've been hearing. Howe also told the Star that his comments made in the April 24th news conference, quote, still hold true. At that time, he said he believed the 3-year-old son of Hill and fiancée Crystal Espinal had been hurt but couldn't prove who did it. 2 days after the news conference, after a taped conversation of Hill and Espinal talking about their son and how he got hurt surfaced, Chiefs coach Andy Reid said the criminal investigation had been reopened. When asked Thursday if the case had ever reopened, Howe did not respond. But Hill's attorney, Trey Petlin, said Friday the criminal case had been closed for a while. Quote, it's my understanding the criminal investigation has been closed for quite some time, and now obviously there's been some misinformation about that, but it is closed, Petlin said. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Goodell said there is a court proceeding, this is quoting Roger Goodell at the league meetings, there's a court proceeding still going on involving CPS, Child Protection Services, and we will not interfere with that. The priority is this young child, so we will obviously be cooperative with whatever the court wants there. We're prepared to go ahead and have an interview whenever we have permission to. So I guess we're still waiting on Child Services then. Would be it, but as far as criminal, there is not going to be, at least right now, barring new information, a criminal investigation with Tyreek Hill or Crystal Espinal. We'll take a break, come back, start there with Danny. Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the